have a readers together services check-in, because I realise we haven't done it for a while, and you should know what I do if I can remember them all, because get the fingers in a lot of pies. So first and foremost, editing. Generally speaking, it is copy and line editing, although I have done developmental and content editing also. Proofreading, beta reading, also alpha reading, not as much, because that does kind of line up with other forms of editing. A Brit checking, of course, if you are an author that is writing a British character or something set in England specifically, although I can do Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland if need be, where obviously we are checking that you're not being too stereotypical, you're not making absolutes that aren't absolutes, you're not saying things that make no sense to a British person. Like if your in character is in the shop talking of figuring out tax, no. If you are talking about a paycheck, if you are sorting distance out, like cars, for example, still operate on miles per hour, and little things that you might not know. Other things while we're on Brit checking, and I have had somebody refer to it as a sensitivity read. I don't personally feel it's a sensitivity read, because nothing's sensitive about it. It's freaking England. We're like colonizers, man. We don't need to be sensitive about us. You know what I'm saying? But being authentic, yes. But there are a couple of things that I can sensitive read for. So if you have a character with a chronic migraine situation, I've got you. I have many years of experience, almost 40 now, of dealing with chronic migraines and then chronic migraines. So yes, also chronic pain, dealt with that for 20 years. Chronic illnesses, that's a newer thing the past 3 years, 4 years. So adoption, the process, again, this is more specific to England, the adoption process, but generally speaking, any sort of adoption conversations, if we are talking about things that happen outside of like the legalities and how one adopts, I think they're like the main things. If I can think of anything else, I will let you know. What else do I do? I do PA, VA type stuff, virtual assistant, not voice acting. Let's not get crazy. I run social media accounts. I manage emails. The general things. I will say I don't tend to do anything that involves like other than simple graphics, because that's not where my skill lies. Like, you're not gonna get a brilliant graphic made for a release, but I can utilize things for a simple, here's a book cover, here's some information type thing. Promotion of audiobooks, and that sort of covers, you know, your ALCs, your form filling in, your chasing up, your what would work for promotion, connecting with other people, casting, and variations of that, like just a conversation of, hey, these voices would be good for your character, or more in depth of reading the book, picking the right voices, telling you these are the ones, offering advice on different ways of being in audio, and then actually doing the listing if you need it on ACX, of going through auditions and connecting with different performers. ALC and ACT distribution and or management, they both cover different things. Proof listening, where you've got, the raw files you're listening as well as reading along to make sure everything is how it should be. So do beta listening, where it's more of a case of just listening to the book to make sure it's a good listening experience, that nothing is jumping out as an issue. Maybe the wrong character is speaking in a scene. Maybe there's a really long pause that is distracting because it's in the middle of a sentence. Things like that. Is that it? there may be more. I don't have it in front of me, obviously. I do a lot of different things. I love working in this industry. I've worked in this industry for a long time in various capacities. I've worked with some amazing authors. I am passionate about audio. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. That is, where my heart lies. What else? I'm trying to think. I feel like there's other things. I have a couple of projects that I'm working on, which are, so I have the journal for the recording what you're listening to, reviews, TBL, things like that. So that's available. I am doing one that splits them up rather than having it all in one, and maybe making it smaller. I haven't decided. I'm also working on one that's audio themed around something to do when listening to audio, and I've been working on that for a while, but I've also been doing that from scratch, so it takes time. On top of all of this, I also do work for a local charity. I also volunteer for a national charity. The national charity is Adoption UK. Local charity is for my area, and it's a lifeline service. So that's another thing. If you need support about how that works, I can also do that. I'm also a single parent, so I got a lot going on, but I love it. I do work in most genres. Non-fiction isn't really for me. Horror really isn't for me. Most everything else is on the table. I do ask if there is any triggering content, and I can't stress this enough. If you are having somebody work on your book, you have to tell them if there is triggering content. Let them make the decision about whether it's something they can do, whether that is an editor, a voice actor, anybody. But yeah, let's read this together.